North Korea is escalating its threat against the U.S. territory of Guam. The North Korean military says it is working on a plan to launch 4 missiles that would hit the water about 20 miles off the island's shore. It says the missiles would fly over Japan on the way to Guam, but the Japanese say that they can shoot them down. In a statement issued before Pyongyang's newest threat, Secretary of Defense James Mattis said the country should cease any actions that would lead to the end of its regime and destruction of its people. And it all comes as we are learning more about the crafting of President Trump's fire and fury comments on Tuesday. For more on that now, let us bring in CBS News Chief White House correspondent Major Garrett, who is near the president's golf club in Bridgewater, New Jersey. Major, thanks for joining us. So we are learning more about this much talked about statement, the fire and the fury, and how it came about. And basically what we've learned from Chief of Staff John Kelly is that top aides were aware of the tone of President Trump's statement prior. They knew the type of tone. They did not know what the exact words are going to be. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure, that's the accurate description of it, Anne-Marie. Let's just set the stage. This is the one and only encounter President Trump has had with traveling White House correspondents since the beginning of his working vacation Friday night. And the White House knew that because this event, it happened on Tuesday, was coming just after new disclosures about yet another advancement, technologically speaking, of the North Koreans marrying nuclear weapons, which they already possess, with possibly intercontinental ballistic missile technology, that North Korea would be the #1 question asked of the president by White House correspondents. So they had a meeting beforehand, a conference call, briefing the president on these developments and agreeing on a tough statement in general for the United States in reaction to what the White House senior staff knew would be the questions on North Korea. What the president then did with that question did take some of his advisors by surprise, because the fire and fury language, of course, created connotations, anxieties, expectations either of military conflict very soon or the prospect of some kind of very devastating attack on North Korea, possibly including nuclear weapons from the United States. And all of that sort of sent off alarm bells throughout the United States and the political community, and certainly among edgy American allies, wondering exactly what the president meant. And in the aftermath, advisors here tell us what he really meant to do was not threaten war imminently, but to sort of change the conversation away from, is the United States vulnerable, or how vulnerable is the United States, to no, that's really not the issue. U.S. vulnerability is not the question. What really is the question, and what has to be a part of the North Korean calculus, is what risks will North Korea take by continuing to pursue nuclear weapons, intercontinental ballistic missile technology, or any other military action in South Korea, Guam, or anywhere else. And that's been the concerted message of the White House and the administration ever since. North Korea, understand the risks you are taking. And it seems to me that is what the president was trying to do, sort of shake the frame of the conversation away from, well, the U.S. is so nervous about what North Korea might or might not do, away from that vulnerability to no, North Korea really is the vulnerable one, and it has great risks ahead if it doesn't change course.
Now, that is an important bit of clarification for sure, Major. What to do about North Korea, obviously the subject of much heated debate for many, many decades, and the president's own top aides are in the same boat, as we understand it. They are split about how to handle North Korea. Give us a sense of what the president may be hearing from 2 different camps.
Well, first of all of this occurs under the umbrella of the president's public statements, which have been repeated many times and predated the fire and fury comments earlier this week, which is he will not accept a North Korea that can menace the United States with nuclear weapons that can be delivered with intercontinental ballistic missiles. The president said that over and over and over again. That is his stated policy. He will not accept it and will take military action to prevent that from happening. So that core policy has been stated by the president over and over. So the disagreements occur under that umbrella, and they are really about timing, tactics, and overall strategy. H.R. McMaster, the National Security Advisor, and James Mattis, the Defense Secretary, are saying, look, Mr. President, there are a lot of military capabilities. We should keep those options live and available to us. Steve Bannon and others within the White House are looking at this over a much longer haul and saying there's nothing imminent that needs to be considered or set in motion because there is a complex relationship here, principally with China, that influences North Korea, but also influences a great deal of as yet unresolved economic issues. And Steve Bannon almost always, as the chief strategist in the White House, comes down on the side of what kind of economic interests can we achieve with China that will benefit U.S. workers? And so he approaches these issues not necessarily from a perspective of military aggression or military posture, but what's the long-term best interests of American workers in a complex and competitive global economy in which China plays an outsized role. So it is a disagreement along those lines, but the president's policy on North Korea and nuclear weapons and their deliverability is pretty clear. And so these disagreements have not dislodged that policy. It's only a matter of timing, tactics, and strategy around it.
Major, we're going to switch gears a little. It would not be an interview with Major Garrett if I did not ask you about the president's latest tweet of the day. As we know, President Trump has a rotating cast of targets. Sometimes it's the Democrats, sometimes it's the media, sometimes it's his own party. And today, it's one of his party leaders. He's taking aim at Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell over the failure to repeal and replace Obamacare. And that came after similar attacks yesterday. What's going on here?
This is a very interesting and potentially significant political development in the president's ongoing relationship. Rough at times, but apparently getting rougher with congressional Republicans and leadership Republicans in particular. The president's relationship with the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, has ebbed and flowed. Everyone knows that. This is really the first time the president has gone out of his way to criticize the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell. And it all arose from comments that McConnell made in Kentucky saying the president had excessive expectations about the speed with which his legislative agenda could be accomplished, and that the president is new to politics and doesn't understand how difficult some of this work is, and a lot of artificial deadlines have been more harmful than helpful. Well, first Dan Scavino, who is inside the White House and runs the social media account for the White House, attacked Mitch McConnell, and then now for 2 straight days the president has as well. Why is this important? Because any real division between the president and Mitch McConnell will create real, or could create real, problems for the president in the month of September. And there are many pending issues that are vital to this president's legislative agenda. Tax reform has to get off the ground. Not only that, a budget has to be passed to avoid a government shutdown by the end of September. And sometime in the month of September and October, the federal debt ceiling needs to be raised. And it needs to be raised to avoid a government default. The votes don't exist for any of those 3 things yet. And for the president to get the votes in the Senate among those Senate Republicans, all 52 or nearly that many, he's going to need the absolute loyalty and spirited advocacy of the Senate Majority Leader. And disagreements, particularly public ones like that, could undermine that will for the Senate Majority Leader and the Senate Majority Leader's effectiveness on behalf of the Trump agenda.
Yeah.
So it may just be an August moment of frustration that doesn't last and doesn't linger. But if it does, it could cause real problems for the White House in the weeks ahead.
We will see. So far, it seems like many Republicans have sort of let his criticisms roll off their back. We'll see how long that lasts. Major Garrett in Bridgewater, New Jersey. Thank you so much, Major.